Tim's News Explosion. 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 Tim's News Explosion.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's Tim's News Explosion on this Monday, the 21st of November, 2022. We are live on the Wilmsfront, YouTube, DLive, and Odyssey channels, as well as the interactive Entropy software, where you can send myself a direct question, or even better yet, send through a super chat to support not just Tim's News Explosion, but also all Unshackled productions. Hello, I'm a stupid moron. Hello, Kesho. Yes, you heard right. Trump is back on Twitter. We're certainly going to talk about that tonight. It is 8:30 p.m. here in Melbourne, Victoria, where it is the final week of the state election campaign, with Dan Andrews desperate to be re-elected as Premier for another 4 years. He's throwing all sorts of wild accusations at his opponents, coupled with mainstream media hit pieces on Liberal candidates. The campaign has reached peak intensity over the last couple of days. It's the second week of pre-poll, which culminates with the election day on Saturday, November 26th. Remember, the Unshackled will be airing an election night live stream on YouTube and Odyssey from 6 p.m. Melbourne time when the polls close. Now, tomorrow night, Premier Dan Andrews and Opposition Leader Matthew Guy will take part in the Sky News Herald Sun People's Forum, which will be at 6:30 p.m. It will certainly be interesting to see the two of them interact directly, face-to-face, since Dan Andrews, in his desperation, has over the past 4 days, or nearly, it's coming up to nearly a whole week, accused the Liberals of preferencing racists, Nazis, anti-Semites, conspiracy theorists. I've put together a whole compilation of all the times Dan has repeated this accusation without actually providing the name of any of these so-called racist, Nazi, anti-Semite conspiracy theorists that the Liberal Party are supposedly preferencing.
In their preference decisions, the Liberal Party are preferencing people who are not just anti-Semites, but they are Nazis, they are racists, and there is no place for the alternative government in this great state, the beacon of multiculturalism in our nation. There is no place for the alternative government of this state to be in a political partnership with people who have absolutely abhorrent views. Racists, plain and simple. And I intend to make sure that the Victorian community knows about that, because they're the decisions that have been made. There are some people involved in conspiracies and conspiracy theories in this election. The Labor Party is not one of them. Nor are we preferencing anybody who's involved in conspiracy theories and blatant racism and anti-Semitism. And we ought to stop using this neo-Nazi tag, Nazis. That's who's getting preferences from the Liberal Party, and racists. And conspiracy theorists is the most polite way you could describe some of the people that the Liberals are preferencing. And I intend to make sure that everyone across Victoria knows about it, particularly our proud multicultural communities, who are so often the victim of appalling behaviour. And if you invite in a political partnership between the alternative government and extremists, if you invite that into the mainstream contest, that's not good for anyone. It's not good for anyone. We are the capital of multiculturalism in our nation. We don't tolerate multiculturalism, we celebrate it. And some of these views are just beyond the pale. It's racism, plain and simple. And we're not in a political partnership with racists. We never have been, we never will be. Others cannot say that because they are preferencing them. They are preferencing them. They are in a partnership with them. And that's really, really sad. The Liberal Party are preferencing racists. They are preferencing extremists. They are preferencing, black-shirted women haters. They are preferencing Nazis. All of it needs to be explained by the alternative government.
Matthew Guy's Liberal Party are preferencing Nazis, are preferencing extremists.
The Holocaust should never be used as a casual term that will keep the Holocaust out of the public debate.
The only people who ought to be apologising are these extremists and the Liberal Party who are in a political partnership with them.
Desperate Daniel Andrews will say desperate things.
You saw there, even Dvir Abramovich of the Anti-Defamation Commission, the guy who claimed because there had been so many swastikas seen around Melbourne that they might feel emboldened to have a big Nazi parade in Swanston Street. He was quoted in the media saying, oh, what's next? They're going to parade down Swanston Street in a Nazi parade. Even he has called out Dan Andrews to say that there is no evidence that the Liberals are preferencing racist Nazis, anti-Semites, conspiracy theorists, although what is it? They did find one today. They did find a suspected Nazi running in this election, or suspected anti-Semite. So Tyler Baker-Pearce, who's running as an independent in Narre Warren South. So this is what he posted on Gab, a smiling photo of him outside of Auschwitz with the lit emoji there, and also he's also posted on his Twitter. I'm not sure if this is Twitter or Gab. I think it's Twitter. He's tweeted, due to subversion of culture, I didn't even realize it's St. Patrick's Day till lunch. Why do Jews embrace separatism for their own kind? He was now yelling, name the Jew. And so because the Liberals are putting Labor last in every seat in Victoria, Tyler Baker-Pearce does appear above the Labor candidate on the Liberals' how to vote card. And Dan Andrews, he put out a message on Twitter as well to back up all of his press conference. When I say back up, that well, when he puts something on Twitter, it's a full. This is what he said. He wanted to be very clear. Nazis, racists, and bigots have no place in politics. They have no place in our parliament, and they have no place in our state. The Liberal Party are actively supporting candidates who espouse those views. I'm not going to name them because you can't. They don't exist. I'm not going to give them the satisfaction of airtime, but I'm going to call it out. This is what's at stake at this election. But as I said last week, and as I'll say again this week, it is the Dan Andrews government that has had over the past 2 years, the most resemblance to the Nazi Germany regime. I also saw this on Twitter here. Similarities between Adolf Hitler and Dan Andrews. Implemented health passports, suspended civil liberties, censored opposition, created 2 classes of citizens, forced healthy people into isolation, banned certain demographics from cinemas and restaurants, forced people to undergo unwanted medical interventions, used the media to control public perception, forced certain demographics out of their professions. So yes, there you go. Who has got the most similarities between 1930s Nazi Germany and the current and the current lot of politics in Victoria. Which politician is most similar to that time in history? It looks more like to me that it's Dan Andrews. Now, as I alluded to, when I say the mainstream media, I'm talking about the age is going after Liberal candidates for supposedly having extreme ultra-conservative views. So there was a Nick McKenzie-led 60 Minutes investigation story last night on the City Builders Church, which Renee Heath, who is the Liberal Party's lead candidate in the upper house of Eastern Victoria region. When the Nick McKenzie article appeared in The Age on Saturday morning, Matthew Guy came out immediately and said that she wouldn't sit in the Liberal Party room when she is elected because she's number one on the ticket. She's going to be elected. It's too late to, people have already voted. So she's a member of this City Builders Church based in Sale. Her father, Brian Heath, is the pastor there. And so Nick McKenzie, the story focused on two whistleblowers, Patrick McIver, who married Renee's sister, Claire. Now, Patrick McIver he is gay, and so it was sort of like an arranged marriage between Brian Heath and Patrick and his daughter Claire, which Nick McKenzie in the story described as sick. And the whole premise of the expose was that the City Builders Church is a Pentecostal church, holds traditional biblical views on homosexuality, marriage, and abortion, and mentioned that the City Builders Church is part of the International Strategic Alliance of Apostolic Churches, ISAC, which is headed by a pastor in Malaysia, Jonathan David. And now Renee Heath has denied that she supports gay conversion therapy and has engaged lawyers and is considering a Human Rights Commission complaint. So she's engaged the law firm Arnold, Block and Liebler to assess whether she has grounds to make a complaint about the discriminatory treatment of me as a potential Liberal MP based on my faith or assumptions about my faith. And so she's a chiropractor by trade. She does not support gay conversion therapy and is just otherwise is completely false and misleading. The only bent things she makes straight are people's backs, being a chiropractor. So she has repeatedly said, the reason I'm a Liberal is I believe the right of every individual to live life according to their convictions, belief, conscience, without interference from government. This applies regardless of your gender, sexuality, and faith, and other characteristics, what makes you who you are. So she hasn't said anything which is apparently, ultra conservative. That was the buzzword last night that Nick McKenzie used. And so it was all just based on, based on the fact that her father is a preacher at that church and she is a member of that church. And I saw that Tim Smith, the Liberal member for Kew, he'll be for another week or so. He appeared back on Twitter to say that Matthew Guy has no authority to kick her out of the Liberal Party room. That has to be decided by the new party room. And he expressed that it was this Matthew Guy kicking her out because of the church she was a member of is Andrew Thorboyne on steroids. Now, the Age on Sunday, another reporter, Samia Ilbu, I probably mispronounced that, did an expose on Timothy Dragon, who is the Liberals candidate for Narre Warren North, not Narre Warren South. There's two Narre Warren electorates in Melbourne's southeast. So he's 26 years old. The headline that the Age chose was "Bloody Aboriginal Liberal Candidate Rails Against Indigenous People Abortion and Climate Change," and he called senior Liberal MP Brad Batten, who's a moderate, a prick. So they got this recording here, which well, it's like a snip together bit of controversial things that he said. So in this audio recorded on Tuesday and leaked to the Sunday Age, Dragon declared he was 100% opposed to a treaty with First Nations people, would cross the floor on any emissions reduction legislation and ban abortion if it came before a vote in Parliament. There's no such thing as traditional Australia. Because Australia is a post-colonial concept. We won this land fair and square. It's like telling Britain to give the land back to the Vikings and the Vikings to give it back to the Romans, and the same with Romania, give it back to the Transylvania, back to the Hungarians. I mean, come on, man, it's bollocks, absolute bollocks. And it goes further down here. He also said that abortion was being used by women as a form of contraception. My argument is I'm for women's rights and health, but I believe that two cells combined are actually human. And so if murder is wrong at an adult stage, where do we stop with the concept of murdering a human? And the thing is, for example, a baby is not a developed human. So where is the consistency in the argument? Why is the passage through the vagina the reason why you can or can't murder a human? What makes the vagina's trajectory so special? Does it give it a magical dignity or something like that? You know? And of course, all of this, he's quoted here to imply what he's saying is bad. Of course, there'd be many people who would agree with what Timothy Dragon said. But of course, as was the same with Nick McKenzie's expose, having so-called ultra conservative views are very bad. Lady of Shalott says, outbreak of common sense alert song. And Lady of Shalott says, I love this bloke. Where can I vote for him? Well, you can only vote for him if you're in the Narre Warren North electorate there. So there are 88 electorates in the Victorian lower house, and there's 8 5-member proportional representation upper house electorates. But on the weekend, only 87 of the 88 electorates will be able to vote in a new member, because in the electorate of Narracan, it has the Victorian Electoral Commission has said that they have declared the Narracan election as a failed election because of the death of the Nationals candidate Shaun Gilchrist, and so this was just over a week before he was due to appear in court over 3 charges of sexual assault and 1 charge of rape. Now, Narracan is held by the Liberal Party, but the incumbent Gary Blackwood is retiring. So it's a 3-corner contest between Liberal, Labor and National. But the most, it's now his death, it looks to be a suicide. But all that has been said is that the family given be privacy and respect. So the election for Narracan district will have to be postponed to a later date. And obviously there have been questions, how can a major party, the Nationals, how can they not pick this up in the vetting process? That obviously there's innocent until proven guilty, but this is a significant cloud to hang over a candidate's head. So this has obviously one of the seats will not be determined on election night. And if it's a close election, like it was back in 1999 when Steve Bracks unexpectedly defeated Jeff Kennett, who would be premier couldn't be decided until there was a supplementary election in the district of Frankston East, because one of the candidates died on election day there as well. Now, it's not just the Liberal candidates under scrutiny from the media. The Labor candidate for Richmond has been exposed as a fake Aboriginal. So Lauren O'Dwyer. So the seat of Richmond, which is the Labor member, Housing Minister Richard Wynne, is retiring, and the Greens are hoping to win it. Because the Liberals are preferencing Labor last, the Greens will probably get the majority of Liberal preferences. So she claimed to be a proud Yorta Yorta woman, though it has been revealed that Miss O'Dwyer said her Indigenous heritage comes from her great-grandfather, Graham Berry, how Mr. Berry's daughter, John Keel, told the ABC her father was not Aboriginal and never identified as Indigenous. And so that is Lauren O'Dwyer there. So yes, but the Labor Party is standing by her. We shall see how this plays in the electorate of Richmond there. Now, in the upper house, of course, the big story last week, because Victoria is the only remaining state that uses group voting tickets in the upper house, which allows parties to determine where their voters' preferences go if they vote above the line. So the Angry Victorians party leaked a video of them discussing with the preference whisperer Glenn Drury how he is helping to put together group voting tickets, and also admitted he was behind the Sack Dan Andrews Restore Democracy Party, said his aim was to get a crossbench that Dan Andrews' government could work with. One of the candidates for the Angry Victorians party in the Western Metropolitan region is incumbent independent Catherine Cummins. She was being investigated by Victoria Police because at the Worldwide Freedom Rally 10 Sack Dan Andrews rally, during her speech on the steps of Flinders Street Station, she used a war metaphor that she wanted Dan Andrews turned into red pink mist, and this was allegedly an incitement to violence. But I was there and filmed Catherine's speech, and so I'll play that section for you now. It went over my head; I didn't get the reference, but you can judge for yourself. If she was making a incitement, or she was simply using an analogy which is common in politics.
I joined the Angry Victorian Party for one reason: to make Daniel Andrews turn into red mist. In the army we would call it pink mist, but I want him into red mist. Give anyone here in the army a job to blow someone up, and they will. Thank goodness for Heston, and thank God for Chris Burson in Western Victoria. The two bravest humans that you're going to meet to expose what has been happening here for a very long time. Yes. I have never, ever benefited from Glenn Jury's system.
Now, see A in the chat say that's not okay, but Pseudo01 said more lighthearted. Now, obviously, there are heaps of violent analogies in politics which are never meant to incite actual violence. Catherine Cummins used a new one there. The Angry Victorians Party are standing by her. Heston Russell, who founded the Australian Values Party and helped set up the Angry Victorians Party, said it wasn't the best choice of words, but they stand by her. And like, obviously, the other analogies that there are in politics, like when a leader is deposed by their colleagues, it's called a political assassination. It's not a real assassination, it's a political assassination. Or when a party deposes its leader, it's also referred that they've been knifed, and when there's a leadership coup, it's referred to the night of the long knives, even though no knives are actually involved. And there is the Australian expression when Paul Keating was voted out in landslide in 1996. His own Attorney General said that the voters were waiting for us with baseball bats. Obviously, the voters didn't actually attack the Keating government with baseball bats, but it's an analogy there. I mean, obviously, because we live in a world where people want to be the victims, these sorts of things are taken literally. So somebody can claim their life is under threat, and they can attack one of their opponents and, well, call the police on them. Now, going on to a tragic incident of actual violence, there was a mass shooting at a gay nightclub, Club Q, at Colorado Springs, with 5 people were murdered, 18 were injured. The suspect, Lee, I'll just put up the suspect here. This is because, as is always the case here with these mass shooters, they were previously known to authorities here. So Anderson Lee Aldrich, so he 22 years old. So this is his an arrest statement from the El Paso County Sheriff's Office. That so he was booked and charged 2 counts of felony menacing, 3 counts of first-degree kidnapping, because, well, the reporting party was his mother, and said her son was threatening to cause harm to her with a homemade bomb and multiple weapons and ammunition. The reporting party was not in the home at the time we made the call and not sure where her son was. So this was back in 2021. We don't know a motive yet, but because it occurred at a gay nightclub, and obviously this is not the first time there's been a mass shooting at a gay nightclub. There was that Islamist who shot up a gay nightclub in Orlando, Florida, the Pulse nightclub, in 2016, murdering 49 people. The gunman was killed in that instance. The suspect here, Anderson Lee Aldrich, he was restrained by 2 people inside the nightclub, saving multiple lives. Now, even though a motive hasn't been established, it's been blamed on the anti-grooming activists. They've been accused of inciting this massacre. And the evidence that they use is that because the mass shooting occurred on the night before because the 20th of November is a Transgender Day of Remembrance, to remember transgender people who were murdered because they were transgender. They'll be going to be having a all ages drag brunch on the next day. So they're blaming Matt Walsh, they're blaming libs of TikTok, especially since a couple of hours after the mass shooting, libs of TikTok tweeted out about a organization in Colorado that teaches kids how to become drag queens and help kids safely experience the art of drag on stage. Now, Colorado is a blue state. They have a gay governor who was just re-elected, Democrat Jared Polis. He won his re-election by 20 points. And last week, the US Senate passed the Respect for Marriage Act, meaning that the federal government recognizes same-sex marriage. So to say that there has been this tsunami of anti-LGBT activism and demonization of LGBT people, no, that's incorrect. It's anti-grooming activism is what is going on, that children shouldn't be sexualized. There's even an organization, Gays Against Groomers, and to blame them for a nightclub massacre when obviously children aren't allowed in nightclubs. So to blame them for that, anti-grooming activists for that, is absolutely abhorrent. Lady of Charlotte says these people will not stop until they are made to stop. I'm not sure what you mean by that, Lady of Charlotte. Naughty Design says no point making claims until we know more, as usual. But of course, everyone loves jumping to conclusions to suit a political agenda. I'm a stupid moron. Can we blame rap music for gang crime? Well, people do anyway. Naughty Design says, don't worry, the LGBTP plus grift is done. Give it another year or so and all of their funding will go away. Grifts never die. That's, I shouldn't have used that analogy, but I should say, wording, grifts go on forever. Lady of Charlotte says, the brainwashers, stop being nice to them. I don't know anyone who's nice to them. Now, also blamed is Elon Musk for this massacre, apparently because he has let all of these hateful people back on Twitter, including the Babylon Bee, who were banned from Twitter earlier this year for this transphobic article where they awarded their Man of the Year to Rachel Levine, the Assistant Secretary for Health in the US Department of Health and Human Services. Now, obviously, this was a very naughty article. I mean, I'm too polite to misgender Rachel Levine there, but of course I support the Babylon's Bee right to free speech and to make jokes, and I'm glad that they're back on Twitter. Also back is Project Veritas, Jordan Peterson, even Kathy Griffin was allowed back on Twitter. But of course, the big one was Donald Trump's Twitter account was restored after Twitter owner Elon Musk conducted a poll of Twitter users. And so this meme that was created when Elon Musk bought Twitter, meme video, I should say, has finally come to fruition.
Okay, folks, the results are in. Put the man back on.
Thank you, Elon. Very cool.
Tell everybody I'm back in the game.
Right now, a historic moment. Donald Trump wins an astounding upset victory.
Tell everybody I'm back in the game.
And now, of course, Trump hasn't made any new tweets on Twitter because he has started his own social media network, Truth Social. And he has one of the agreements he has with investors that anything he posts to social media, it has to be on Truth Social exclusively for at least 6 hours. But we cannot get Truth Social in Australia. When you go to Truth Social, it says that it's only available to US users. So I can't see what Trump is saying on Truth Social. I have to rely on media reports, unless of course I use a VPN. I see in the comments that Mr. Moran says the ADL is threatening Elon Musk. Yes, Jonathan Greenblatt, who, well, he's just met up with Dvir Abramovich, who they were at some global conference of anti-defamation organizations there. And Elon Musk replied to Jonathan Greenblatt and said, "Stop defaming me." And now, obviously, the other so-called controversial goings on at Twitter since Musk took over is that he actually wants his employees to work, and he laid off half his workforce already, which showed that they weren't really doing anything. And he over the weekend he said, like, look, you're either going to have to earn your salary that you're getting, or you can go and get another job. And so, yeah, making people actually, like, who are getting paid like six-figure plus salaries, like making them work for that money. I mean, if you're working for a global organization, you're expected to work long hours. And Elon Musk posted the photos on the right of a 1 a.m. Twitter engineering meeting. And so this is Lauren Chen. So this is on the right is Elon after Twitter. It's mainly men in that photo, lots of non-white men. And before, when all the fat was in Twitter with people not really doing anything, mainly all women there. Though Elon Musk, he did hire back 2 workers that he quite publicly fired. So Ligma and Johnson. So he welcomed them back. He said, important to admit when I'm wrong, and firing them was truly one of my biggest mistakes. Because there was, I think, a report I saw in the Sydney Morning Herald that a couple of people were fired from Twitter by accident. And so Ligma Johnson were 2 of those. And this wasn't a lost on a discussion program on the Hill, talking about the rehiring of Ligma and Johnson.
I mean, what do you think this is about? Is it because he has created such a poor working environment and has ruined the relationship between him and his employees so much that he's not able to do the job? Because I saw him, he was tweeting out pictures of him standing with 2 employees who had fired prematurely and then rehired with his arms around them, kind of like, hey, I know I shouldn't admit to my mistakes. It seems like he's in a desperate situation where he's realized he actually needs somebody, and the single genius myth is just that, a myth, and he actually needs these employees to work for him. And the employees didn't look so happy in that photograph, I gotta say.
And now Raul Ligma, so he was the one that looked most unhappy. So after he first got fired from Twitter, he went to the Bahamas to work for FTX with Sam Bankman-Fried, which of course went bankrupt, and he was quite devastated that he had to pack up his things a second time. And so this is what he had to say, Raul Ligma, when he was fired from FTX.
At the FTX headquarters in Bahamas, catching up with some employees who were recently laid off. Hello.
Hi.
What's your name?
Rahul. Rahul Ligma.
And what just happened, Rahul?
I mean, you know, it's really tough. This is my second job in a month, and Web 2 chewed me up, spit me out, and I just really thought Web 3 was going to be different. I've been my first job out of Twitter, and first month here, just moved my husband and wife out to the Bahamas, and everything just changed so quickly. And I really do respect SBF, and he really tried to maximize his altruism. We had like Hillary and Bill helping out, and but decentralization, it's about a public protocol, not one guy owning all of crypto. And so things are moving fast and open to new opportunities. I heard this Justin Tron guy is saving the day, might be a solid guy, so maybe there's something we can do there. But just keeping my hopes up and looking for the best for the future.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Ligma.
Thank you.
All right.
I mean, the fact that Raul Ligma, he just he keeps a straight face the whole time, and he's so in character. Like, he has that grim look on his face and grim demeanor. No wonder he fooled the mainstream media. I mean, that is some excellent deadpan satire. Dawn Browning says, again, all I hear in that babble is husband and wife. Yeah, yes, he delivers it so deadpan that he's in a polyamorous relationship there. Now, the bad news with FTX going bankrupt, apart from the fact that Sam Bankman-Fried has, lost $8 billion. It's just disappeared. You won't get to see him at this New York Times event with he was going to be there with President Vladimir Zelensky of Ukraine, Larry Fink, Chairman and CEO of BlackRock, and Secretary Janet Yellen of the US Department of Treasury there. That was due to be on November 30th, not going to happen now. And of course, as I said last week, Sam Bankman-Fried he's still a free man. He hasn't been arrested or anything. He was pumped up as, the next JP Morgan, which reminded people of a previous fraudster, Elizabeth Holmes, who was pumped up as the next Steve Jobs, and who got to meet Joe Biden. So Elizabeth Holmes, she told investors and the public that she had invented a blood testing device that, through a simple drop of blood, could test for countless diseases. But it was all a scam, and she, after being convicted of fraud, she was sentenced to 11 years in prison, but she won't start her sentence until April 2020 because she got herself pregnant with her second child, because as a way to get out of prison, she tried all of this sob stories. She says, oh, my dog died, I was raped in college, all of these sort of sob things to try and get out of prison, which clearly she had no remorse about the people that she ripped off. She's a full sociopath. similar to the female fraudster in Australia, Belle Gibson. You remember her? She claimed that she had cured her cancer by just eating fresh natural foods, and published a book. What is it with? I think it was with Random House Penguin, The Whole Pantry, and it was going to be an app on Apple Watch, but it was all based on a lie. But she managed to win an award, some Women's Weekly award that was presented by Lisa Wilkinson, who announced her departure from the project last night, and blamed that she was the blamed relentless targeted toxicity, because of course she's the victim. The real victim, not her. I mean, pure narcissism there. Her and her husband, Peter Fitzsimons, easily Australia's worst couple. Peter Fitzsimons stepped down as the head of the Australian Republican movement. So former Socceroo Craig Foster is now the new chair of the Australian Republican movement. Well, he's going to be the co-chair because he wants a female co-chair in gender equality. Craig Foster, he won also Father of the Year. I think he's up for Australian of the Year this year. He's a massive SJW, and so he has certainly been on the case against the World Cup being in Qatar, which is, well, it's begun. It can't be stopped anymore. It has got off to quite a bad start with a backflip by FIFA and the Qatari organisers that beer will not be served inside of stadiums. It'll only be in designated fan zones. And this has obviously upset one of the FIFA's big sponsors, Budweiser. And obviously a lot of the Western soccer players, they have called out the fact that, because Qatar is governed by Sharia law, that homosexuality is illegal. And so there's been this proposal, idea that the captains of Western men's soccer teams should wear the rainbow One Love armbands, and it's just been breaking news now that England, Wales, and other European teams will not wear One Love armbands at World Cup matches after FIFA warned of fines and yellow cards. So they've backed down on that. Now the president of FIFA, Swiss Italian Gianni Infantino, he used the cultural relativist argument at a press conference at the world headquarters of FIFA, to say that the Europeans should apologize for 3,000 years of their history if they want Qatar to apologize for their human rights abuses, which also include the treatment of migrant workers who built the stadiums that the soccer players are playing in. And he also went on, bizarrely, this trans odyssey, where he felt like all of these different races, sexualities, and different workers.
I have very strong feelings, I can tell you that. Today I feel Qatari. Today I feel Arab. Today I feel African. Today I feel gay. Today I feel disabled. Today I feel a migrant worker.
I remember there was a Paul Joseph Watson video a number of years back, The Truth About Trans Everything, where he was this a character Mangina who went on this trans odyssey of being a different identity every day of the week. And you saw there that Gianna Infantino, he went on a trans odyssey in like 30 seconds there. Yes, he's some sort of fluid there. And Lady of Sharat rightly says the decision to give them the event in the first place was insanity. Well, it was corruption. That's the same reason why Russia got the 2018 World Cup, even though the 2018 World Cup should have gone to England. And of course, the 2022 World Cup should have gone to Australia. FIFA is it is one of the most corrupt organizations on the planet. I mean, it does give the Andrews Victorian government a run for its money in the corruption stakes there. And I don't know why soccer fans have made the pilgrimage there to that backwards place there. I mean, I'm going to watch it, but I would never advocate people to travel there. I do hope the Socceroos do well. Their first game is against France it's going to be on Wednesday morning. So the group that we are in, Group D, so Australia is with France, Denmark, and Tunisia, which is African country. So not a bad draw, but we shall see. Now, now some random bloke has sent through a super chat on Entropy for $3 Australian. So thank you for that super chat. Some random bloke says, "Hey Tim, can you check Blair Cottrell's Telegram? Dan Andrews giving $5 million to Jewish groups." Well, I'll have a look at that now. I mean, Dan Andrews, he's trying to basically bribe every group in Victoria to buy their vote. That's how desperate he is. I'll watch that now. I mean, he's giving every group oh yes, here it is here. Amongst a series of taxpayer cash giveaways, Daniel Andrews has promised $5 million to a local Jewish groups if re-elected. So there's a $1 million going to a Jewish safety infrastructure program. So funding private security for Jewish schools and synagogues. They are also giving $500,000 to the Melbourne Holocaust Memorial Centre and $3 million going towards fighting anti-Semitism and stamping out racism against Jewish people in Victoria. So, yeah, and I went through last week that Dan Andrews was called out by a member of a synagogue for his government's persecution of Jewish worshippers during Yom Kippur in 2021 during Melbourne's 6th lockdown. Victoria Police outside the synagogue and camped outside the synagogue, and so Orthodox Jews had to escape via rooftops there. So basically Dan's trying to basically saying, like, here, I'll just give you this money to make up for all of that. All right, so that brings towards the end of another Tim's News Explosion, the final one before the Victorian election. There will be a Wilmsfront this Thursday, where I'll be speaking with Kim Jong-un, who is running against Dan Andrews in his seat of Mulgrave, under the name of Howard Lee. Which is the name of the local Kim Jong-un impersonator here. So I'm very much looking forward to bringing you that interview. He's running as an independent. He probably won't win, though. The independent Ian Cook, who you remember of I Cook Foods, whose business was shut down by Dan's Cho in 2019, falsely accused of killing a woman with one of their sandwiches on the advice of the City of Greater Dandenong Council, whose health inspector found a slug in their kitchen, which looked like it was planted there. So he has a good chance of knocking off Dan Andrews, which if he lost, and even if Labor won the most seats, then Dan Andrews couldn't be Premier. We still haven't got a poll for a week. We still don't know how the polls are tracking. We know that, as I said, I mean, the campaign, it's the most intense it has been. Dan Andrews and his lackeys in the media doing their best to smear and throw as much mud at Dan's opponents as possible. I mean, Dan is still the favorite, but we shall see the results on Saturday. Now, the second last episode of Trad Tasman Talk will be airing 6 p.m. Friday with Dwayne DeBoer on the Unshackled YouTube channel. Colin, Saturday, 26th of November is election day. So polls close at 6 p.m. So that's when our live stream will start. So it'll be myself, Nick Patterson, who is being prosecuted by Victoria police, accused of assaulting them. His when he was protecting a mate during an anti-lockdown protest, his case is being deferred until 2023. All right, thank you everyone so much for joining me as always, and I will see you later in the week on this most important week in Victoria's recent history. Good night, everybody. Stay safe, stay sane, stay free, stay healthy, and stay sane. Good night, everybody.
Tim's News Explosion. 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 Tim's News Explosion.